Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for my MLB 2024 playoff prediction. First, I'm going to start off by saying who is going to make the National League wild card, like who's going to make the rest of it. Well, the Diamondbacks beat the Padres 11-2. Now their fate is decided between who wins between the Mets and the Braves. If either team loses 2, then the team who won 2 will make it to the playoffs, and the Diamondbacks will. But if both teams win 1, then the Diamondbacks are eliminated, and both teams will make the playoffs now. However, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Braves and Mets do split 1-1, and the Diamondbacks, unfortunately, are out, but barely, because the National League wild card has been insane lately. Either way, we got plenty to talk about, so don't forget to leave a like on this video, and please make sure to subscribe for more content like this. I know you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel if you do, because we always upload weekly content for you guys to enjoy and love. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Cue the intro, and let's predict the MLB 2024 playoffs. Alright, with no explanation needed for this, we're going to start with the Astros and the Tigers, with the Astros being the clear higher seed in this. And I'm going to go with, in fact, the Houston Astros. When you really look at them in the playoffs, they've made it to the ALCS like 7 years in a row. The Astros, I mean, they got off to a slow start in the season, but ever since then, they've been absolute monsters right now. And the Tigers, you know, they're just lucky to be here. However, I would not be surprised if the Tigers did win, because we've seen in recent memory in the playoffs, like, little wild card teams plan to, you know, make a run. That's what the Phillies did in the World Series 2022, but I don't think that's going to happen here. I think the Astros do, in fact, make it to the next round. All right, next up we have the Milwaukee Brewers versus the New York Mets, and surprisingly, I'm gonna take the Milwaukee Brewers right here. I mean, it's gonna be a very hard battling series, and at least this is what I think will happen anyway. I think the Mets will make the playoffs, but overall, just the Brewers have been way too good this year. They've only improved every single year since 2022. My only concern is that they're going to be missing Christian Yelich, but they've really shown that that's not really a problem. And the Mets, you know, ever since they beaten us, they kind of just like slowed down a lot. You know, the momentum is starting to fade away, and I just think that's going to carry into the playoffs, where the Brewers will eventually win. All right, next up, we have the other side of the American League bracket. We got the Orioles and we got the Royals. I mean, the Royals, they have really shocked me this year, and I really do like what the Orioles have been doing. They made a big bounce back, getting to 90 wins. Not as good as they were last year, but still, it is very good. I'm going to go with the Orioles. I do think that their team is strong enough to make it to the division series. The Royals, again, much like the Tigers, they're just happy to be here. However, we could see an upset. I mean, this was by far one of the hardest ones to predict, but I do think the Orioles will make it, and I think that it's just only a matter of time before we see an Orioles World Series in the near future. Now moving on to the other wild card between the Atlanta Braves and the San Diego Padres. Look, I mean, I have the Padres. The Padres have been on an absolute roll this year. The Braves, they're without most of their good players. They're not very strong this year. They haven't been really that strong all year. It's just that, like, they're just not strong enough. They're not healthy enough to make it to the next round. The Padres are. The Padres have really surprised me, obviously getting to 93 wins. They've had multiple players contribute, such as, you know, Jurickson Profar, Luis Ariz. They got him in a blockbuster trade versus the Marlins. Dylan Cease, Michael King. Like, they have all showed up for pitching. Yu Darvish has been pretty consistent. Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. Like, everyone is contributing on that team. And if they contribute in the playoffs, then they're going to make it to the next round. Now, here's where it gets tough. Now we're going to predict the Cleveland Guardians versus the Houston Astros. And I'm sorry. I just can't bet against playoff Astros. I mean, they've made it to the ALCS 7 years in a row, and they're going for their 8th. It just every time you put the Astros in the playoffs, they always deliver. As I literally just said, they've made it to the ALCS 7 years in a row. Yordan Alvarez is an absolute monster in the playoffs. They've proven that to be a fact over and over and over again. So I think the Astros do it again. We have the Yankees and the Orioles. Honestly, surprisingly, this really hurts me to do. It really does. But I'm going to have to say, psych! The Orioles will defeat the Yankees in 7 games. It's going to be a blockbuster series, and the Orioles will make it to the ALCS for the first time in however long. The Orioles will, in fact, make it to the ALCS, and it will be an absolute great series. A lot of home runs are going to go down there, and it's going to be Astros versus the Orioles on this side of the bracket. All right, next up we have the Dodgers and the Padres. Listen, if nobody remembers, a couple years ago, the Padres did, in fact, eliminate the Dodgers from the playoffs. The Dodgers will then again, the second year in a row, get absolutely blown out in the NLDS by the Diamondbacks, 3-0. So this is very hard to predict. The Dodgers are obviously the number 1 seed, but I don't know. I mean, I'm literally deciding on this right now. This has been the toughest thing to predict. But I told myself there was going to be an upset, and I think that happens here. I think, matter of fact, the Padres make it to the NLCS and beat the Dodgers once again. It's just the Dodgers, like, they always get cold at this time. They can never really do anything in the playoffs. They're like the Dallas Cowboys. They have a lot of star players, but it's just they can never get it done against division rivals in the playoffs. I think this will be a hard-hitting series. I think the Padres win it 3-2, 3 out of 5 games, and they do in fact make it to the NLCS. Now, please don't be mad at me for being biased. The Phillies do in fact make it to back-to-back NLCSs. Their team, I mean, the Phillies, this is the strongest team that Bryce Harper has played with yet, and it is just we've beaten the Brewers. We've swept them this year. Obviously, they won the last series against us, but we have the season series. We have everything over the Brewers. They're down a lot of players. They're down Christian Yelich. We must win this, and we will win this because you guys already know how the Phillies are in Red October. Now let me go ahead and predict the ALCS. And I know I said I can't bet against Houston playoffs, but the Orioles will in fact be representing the AL in the World Series. Their team, even though the record doesn't say it, their team has been better than their last team. As I know I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for that because, you know, they had a way better record last year than they did this year. But it's just their team feels different this year. Their team just has that grind. They have that hunger to want to go to the World Series. And they're going to earn it this year. Now, representing the National League in the World Series, I think the Phillies do in fact do it again. Just they've made it to the NLCS 3 years in a row. They're going for their second World Series in 3 years. I'm not confident that anything can stop the Phillies right now. I know we had a little bit of a cold run, but that's why I was so excited for the Phillies to get the bye week, so we can get our mindset and that we can finally make it back to the World Series. So we have Orioles and the Phillies. And to win it all, don't overthink it. The Philadelphia Phillies will win the World Series this year. I know I'm a Phillies fan, but this is genuinely what I do think. I'm not trying to be biased. It's just when you take the Phillies in the playoffs, it's batting practice. We're gonna hit home runs. We're gonna make a big impact. And Bryce Harper, I'm not confident that anything can stop Bryce Harper in the playoffs, much like the Astros. But I'm not trying to be biased. The Phillies will do it this year, finally, and they will get their moment. The Orioles, everyone else, this bracket is full of good teams, but the Phillies are just the strongest this year. They've been the strongest since June. Alright guys, that will wrap it up for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you already know how to show support. Please make sure to leave a like on the video, and make sure to subscribe, and make sure to comment who you think will be your 2 championship predictions. I want to hear your guys' voice on anything I say, so without further ado, I'll see y'all guys the next time I upload, and I hope you guys enjoyed the 2024 MLB Playoffs.